All right, let's go on ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for joining. We're ready to get going with another Rook DAO status update, our bi-weekly calls where we will touch base on the things that have happened over the last 2 weeks at a pretty high level. But as always, we'll start it off with a little bit of housekeeping. So over the last 2 weeks, you might have seen some changes happening with our public calls, and so just quickly want to touch base on those. So first, Treasury Tuesdays will still continue to hold down their slot at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Governance workshops are now moving to bi-weekly. So on Wednesdays, you'll see them rotating between governance workshops on 1 week and community office hours on the other week where there's not going to be a governance workshop. And so at those new community office hours, you as a DAO have the opportunity to kind of lead the topic of discussion. So myself and other members from the labs team will be present, and we will, take any feedback, answer questions. We can discuss anything from, governance proposals to things that are going on with the app to even just the broader crypto market in general. So we had our first one this last week, which was fantastic, and thanks to everyone that attended. And so we'll be continuing that. The next one will be not next week, but the following Wednesday as well. Looking at some other key events that happened over the last 2 weeks, we saw the passing of a new KIP. So KIP 26 passed, I believe, with just a single objection. We actually saw, I think, over 26,000 Rook vote in favor of the KIP as well. So that extends the powers granted via KIP 12 and KIP 21 to our leadership team of Hazard as CEO and JZ as CTO. And those powers extended to them will run through the end of the year now. So really exciting. I was, as I've said on many of these calls, a huge supporter of this KIP. And I'm excited to see where Joey and Hazard are going to continue to take us. Lastly, we're going to be improving these status updates. So the last time we held one of these, it was our first one. We were still getting under our feet. We're going to be continuing to improve on them and iterate on them. So after some feedback on this one, this recap will be a little bit more representative of a briefing where I'll be hitting on some key things at a high level. Anyone in the audience, feel free to raise your hand anytime you have a question. So feel free to interrupt me, raise your hand, hop up on stage and ask a question. And we'll answer as many of them as we can, but we're not going to be as granular on the status updates. This will be a little bit more high level. We'll be trying to incorporate as much information as we can to that. And then once we get through the status update, we'll revert back to that open forum where folks can bring up any proposals that they want to talk about or any other bits of feedback for the DAO as well. All right. So why don't we hop on in to the status update. All right. So the first thing that we'll talk about is some of the engineering stuff. The first item is, if you guys have not seen, we added a new little widget to our application called Frill. So if you go to app.rook.fi on the left, kind of lower third of the page, you'll see a little tab that you click on for feedback, and that will enable you to kind of look at some of the feedback people have shared with us, as well as give you an opportunity to give feedback on the app or anything else you notice in terms of the UI. So I encourage anybody to go through, test out our application, and play around with the Frill widget and leave us some feedback. If you notice anything about the price graphs or what you see in the filled orders or anything else that you notice, hit that little Frill widget and leave us some feedback. We'd really like to see that. Another thing on the engineering side, we concluded our UI testing on the the completed auctions where they had tested out a token pair sort feature. And so that was really cool. Thanks to everybody that participated in that little beta testing on that. Stay tuned if we have some more features that we want to beta test with folks as well. We also fixed a bug related to mobile wallets interacting with our application as well. So excited to see that going. On the protocol side, we saw a major update to Ninja pushed out, I believe today actually, which included a significant arbitrage refactoring and some other enhancements to it. Huge shout out to Zubair, who led the charge on that one as well. Really fantastic work. So on the operation side, last week we actually had Hazard invited to a podcast, and that was recorded. So we'll be doing some co-branded marketing with that when they finish up the kind of polishing side on the podcast, and we'll be sharing that around with everybody. Really excited to see that. If you haven't heard Hazard on any of the previous kind of podcasts or community calls, the most recent one was that Pool Together one, or his AMA done with the Tokamak crew. He does a fantastic job. So I'm really looking forward to hearing that one when they publish. In terms of governance, we have multiple proposals live on the forum right now. We have the Bancor withdrawal. We have the non-core assets proposal. So that's what to do with, I would say non-Rook, non-ETH, non-stables. And so really excited to see kind of what we can do with those. The testing wallet proposal, which I'm very interested in, which looks at, stablecoin strategies and increasing some stablecoin liquidity on the hiding book. Really interesting one for you guys to check out. And then, most importantly, I would say check out the Treasury Charter proposal that's on the forum as well. That one is going to be kind of a guiding light for our Treasury, and a lot of solid work went into that. So Matt and the Treasury team really excited to see that one live on the forum as well. Looking ahead, or at least kind of what's also happened in governance, we've seen some solid initial drafts and progress on 3 kind of KIPs around the governance overview and the governance process, the SOFON framework, and as well as SOFON onboarding and offboarding. And we'll touch on that a little bit later in the call as well. On the growth side, we've continued to have conversations with new prospective market makers and keepers. I actually just had a call with an awesome prospective keeper about an hour and a half ago. Really excited for that. We've also had some integrations calls as well. And then, as always, Troy is out in Paris at ETHCC, showing Rook wearing his Wrecked by MEV shirt and talking to as many protocols as possible. Can't wait to see him get back next week and share his findings and the conversations that he had as well. Also, we held another one of our decentralized payment for order flow presentations, which have been some closed door presentations for folks that were on the Rook Narratives end of quarter call a few weeks back. We did an updated version of that for a small crew. We're going to continue to host more of those calls as well. And a big shout out to Watts and Troy and Hazard that put a ton of work into that as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we hosted our first community office hours on Wednesday. And it's, for me, there's so much value in not just focusing on work, but also building this community and building, a way for us to socialize together, building out camaraderie and trust and getting to know contributors and stuff. So if you didn't make it this previous Wednesday, not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, please do join us for another community office hours. We might be even adding some more fun elements to it in the next couple of weeks as well. So really excited for that. So that's the end of my stand-up for the last 2 weeks. I'll pause real quick. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask? All right, cool. So looking ahead to next week, we're going to start seeing the deployment of our ETH strategy. So for folks that haven't stayed in tune to that, with the passing of the ETH strategies KIP, we have a pretty solid range of time to start deploying that strategy. Matt, I wasn't actually there for Treasury Tuesday. Matt, you want to quickly talk about kind of what the schedule and plan looks like for deploying ETH, if you have a moment?
Sure thing. So I was really struggling to hit that button. So yeah, the plan, we were trying to get it out this week, but I think it's just going to be better when we have a planned multi-sig day next week. So I think, sometime mid next week, we'll hopefully be deploying roughly about 20% of our approved allocation of ETH. And so really excited to kind of see this, kind of kickstart. So again, that will be next week and just roughly be about 20%.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Also, with another Treasury interaction that's going down this weekend, actually, is we'll be restarting our Maple withdrawal cooldown period. So for those of you that don't know, if you're looking to withdraw funds from Maple, there's a 10-day cooldown that has to be initiated before we can pull any funds out. And that also needs to coincide with a deposit or a repayment from their borrowers as well. So for us, looking ahead, it looks like that there are some repayments scheduled within that window. After the 10 days, we have a 48-hour window for us to execute on a withdrawal if that is going to happen. And so, for us, we're going to give ourselves the opportunity to withdraw. It's still kind of not just luck of the draw, but an absolute quick draw of, if a large repayment happens, we saw, that capital swallowed up, I think within 45 seconds of that repayment being mined in. So, it's really who's fastest on the draw, who's watching the chain. And so for us, it can be a little bit challenging going through because, we have our multi-sig, so it's going to take 2 signers for us to execute any transaction through the multi-sig. So for us, it's I wouldn't say it's a high likelihood of success, but we're still going to put ourselves in the position to have the opportunity. And so, we've continued our conversations with Maple. We've talked to some of their borrowers as well. But as it stands now, we're going to just put ourselves in the best position to succeed. And we are still accruing both interest on our deposit as well as NPL rewards as well. The last thing that we're going to look at, for the next week is we're going to continue to kind of upgrade our Discord and documentation. And so actually, Joe has really helped out in terms of identifying some gaps in our documentation. We also have some things that are being worked out from bots and other kind of public-facing things in our Discord as well. So hopefully we'll be rolling the start of those out as well. And then very lastly, in terms of the update here, just looking ahead to what's happening for our regular events next week. So next week's Treasury Tuesday, we're probably going to be seeing a continuation of the discussion around our stablecoin strategy. I know Matt has also been looking at a comprehensive labs budget, as well as overall strategy for the Treasury as well. So really exciting to pop by those Treasury Tuesday calls. So that's 3 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. And then the following day, Wednesday, we'll see governance workshop resume, where we'll continue to iterate on the governance process with, I believe, an eye to the SOFON framework and SOFON onboarded and offboarding. Jason, do I have that right? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple things we're going to focus on next week. So one is these new KIPs around the sort of governance V2. And so we started having internal conversations about these this week, and we'll continue those next week. And I want to give a shout out to Above Average Joe for talking through some some issues with me that was super helpful. So we're going to have some of that to talk about next week, which is great. And then the other person I need to shout out is Rainfall, who's been doing some great work on updating our snapshot, the strategies we can use to access different groups of Rook voters and continue to expand that group and refine that. So a couple of things to talk about next week. So it'll be good. Please come.
Awesome. So yeah, so for folks that are able to attend, we look forward to seeing you there and participating. For folks that not, I hope that you have been seeing our recaps that we've been posting. Another great opportunity for me to shout out the awesome work being done by the Starbase team. Tradium, Donica, and crew. Their recaps have been fantastic, and we're looking to continue that partnership with them. And really, I can't say anything more positive about their level of professionalism and how not just the quality of work that they're done, their responsiveness, and how quickly things get posted. So just a big thank you to them, and we're excited to continue working with them as well. And that's the end of the updates that I have. I'm going to go on ahead and open it up for open forum for any kind of Q&A, or if anyone's got any specific discussion topics that they want to talk about.
One more update from my end, from the Treasury side. We did liquidate our Maple position, which was empowered by that Maple withdrawal KIP. So I think I posted in the announcements the Etherscan transaction there. So if anybody's curious about that move, that is already posted there.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Yeah. So as we move into this open forum section, one thing that I want to talk about briefly is one of the open proposals that's on the forum right now, and that's the Bancor position. So I want to shed a little bit of light on that Bancor position, and then we can have anyone kind of feel free to talk about it. So the latest status with Bancor is that they are still working through kind of what's going to happen next in terms of their permanent loss protection and what the next stages of that are going to look like. But for folks like us that were in their V2.1 pool, we are unable to withdraw that Rook as it currently stands in V2.1. So at every asset that was in V2.1 is being pushed to migrate to Bancor 3. And so with that comes any impermanent loss that we might have suffered over the period of deposits as well. Anecdotally, and it may not specifically pertain to our position, but looking at the V3 Rook pool and some of the transactions that have gone through it, I'm not seeing as many of the issues in terms of impermanent loss that some of their other pools have faced. So, things like their Link pool, which I know was pretty severely impacted. In terms of the Rook pool and impermanent loss, if you look at the Rook BNT ratio that's happened over the last, 6 months, 6+ months or whatever, we've held, we've kind of tracked about the same with them. And so, unfortunately, our price action has followed in suit a little bit with BNT as well. So it would be my hope that when we migrate to Bancor 3, we won't see a significant impermanent loss hit. In terms of the revenue that has been generated from the initial 6,400-ish Rook or 6,400 Rook that was deposited, before they had shut down some of their UI stuff around that, we had earned, a little bit over 140 Rook. So, I would hope to see that we're able to withdraw around 6,500 Rook from Bancor, and that would be something that we could, reallocate to, say, a different, liquidity source. So if we wanted to attribute that towards, say, the tokamak reactor or something like that, where, it's something that, provides that same amount of kind of on-chain liquidity that we were previously providing. Those strategies are still being developed, but that would be a solid resource for that. If we do see like a major impermanent loss hit, I think that we'll have to discuss as a DAO kind of what the plan is with that. If we just want to withdraw no matter what the balance is, or if we want to wait and see what Bancor does in terms of impermanent loss protection for impacted pools. It's all kind of to be determined there. But I wanted to just kind of run through that now because I guess number one, I was the author of that KIP, but two, because it's important for us to discuss these out ahead of time as well. So let me pause there. Does anyone have any thoughts about the Bancor withdrawal, or any comments or insights that they have into Bancor as well? I'm opening it up for anybody that's got anything to share here. All right. Well, if not, I will just drop a link to the draft in the voice chat here for folks to check it out. If you've got any comments on it, feel free to leave it at the bottom as well. And thanks Starfire for drafting this up for us as well. It looks great. But that was the only kind of topic I had in terms of open forum. Does anyone else have any topics that they want to bring up for open forum today? All right. Well, if these are going to continue to be pretty quick, there may be a chance that I revert these back to weekly status updates for the DAO as well, and that way, folks can kind of stay up to date, more frequently on things with kind of lighter loads in terms of labs updates. In terms of labs, we do have and encourage folks to kind of take some time. We haven't really seen much what I would consider kind of personal or vacation time taken by any of our contributors, really. And so, it would be my advice to encourage folks to take some time. And so with that, we might see a little bit, less frequent updates from specific teams. But where we see, sorry, I'll get to your question in just a second, Carnation. Yeah, so we're still considering if this should stick bi-weekly or if we want to just kind of keep a rapid fire on a weekly basis. If anyone's got any specific feedback, they're welcome to share. It looks like Carnation asked, when can we see some more details about the recent Ninja upgrade? I can't speak very specifically to all of the details that went into that, major update that came through. But, what we'll see is that, there's a little bit, that there's various refactors that happened that improved, the execution of different items, as well as, let me see if I can pull through any of the notes here. There's some legacy bugs that were fixed, and we have some improved logging that's going to happen. But I don't have a public facing kind of recap of the Ninja refactor yet. And so if there's something that's available, I will get with the team and share that a little bit more publicly. But I don't have that yet for you, Carnation. All right, does anyone else have any other questions or topics that they want to bring up? Cool. All right, well then we can go on ahead and wrap this status update for the week. And just quick thanks for everybody that joined with us today, and hope you have a great weekend, and look forward to starting fresh again on Monday. But we'll go on ahead and close this one out. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you all being here.